listening. Wildcat Radio Coaches Show.
Crawford takes the handoff up the middle, and he's loose to the 25-20. Carson Crawford 15-10-5. And Carson Crawford runs a little zone read in the middle, takes the handoff, and goes straight up the middle of the Ed White defense for the Wildcat touchdown.
Especially in this middle school, like near crazy fandom level. Everyone and their mom in this school became obsessed with drilling. You know, they would that randomly in English class stuff. That's what happens anytime something is popular in like middle school, and a bunch of kids just overdo it and ruin it for everybody.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning Wildcat Radio Coaches Show. First one for 2021. As we, a couple of weeks into the high school football season here, we've had a successful kickoff classic and a successful week one, and ready to talk some Wildcat football on Monday nights. Each and every Monday night, you can hear us right here on 97.5 WFBB. I'll be here with the head coach, this is Mike Cruz, and the head coach Kevin Mays of the Baker County Wildcats, and each week we'll take a look back at the game that was. The game that was this past Friday night was Bradford County, and then we'll look ahead to the upcoming week. And so this Friday night we'll have a home game against Vieira, and a lot of people probably don't know that name, so we'll talk a little bit about Vieira tonight and tell you where they're coming from and what they're all about. But exciting time of year as always. It's still a little hot for me, Coach, but you know when it's time, at least for the first 2 or 3 weeks in Florida, it's going to still be hot, but you'll know we'll get that transition sooner or later. So head coach Kevin Mays, want to welcome you into the show tonight. Congratulations, 2-0 so far on the season.
Yep, I'll take it. It's good to be back here on the radio talking with everybody. But like we were talking about before, the Kickoff Classic, when you win, you count it. If you don't win, it was just a scrimmage. So things are going good right now. It was practice was a little different today because I wasn't sure what all the blue stuff up there was.
No rain today.
It was odd. We've been sitting around kind of counting. We tried to figure it out today. I think out of the 20 practices we've had, 13 have been inside, which probably deals with some of our cramping issues we had this week because not being able to get out in the humidity and the heat. So it was. We had a good practice today, and as we move forward, hopefully it'll stay dry this week and we can be ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice. It is nice not to have the rain today, but also, there have been some of those nights during the summer when the rain comes through and it gets a little bit cooler. Well, that's not happening today. It's still humid out here.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot. We're located outside on the patio deck here at Sharky's Restaurant right here on US 90 in McClenny. If you haven't had a chance to stop by and try Sharky's, they've got some good. Looks like, Coach, you've got some wings over there. DeHaven's got a big juicy hamburger, and Brock has some wings, some cheese sticks here. They've got an assortment of things, and I actually heard your wife say a minute ago she was thinking about a milkshake. So
I think Blake got one.
There you go. Ice cream, all kind of stuff. Sharky's. But we're going to be here on Monday nights. Jackie Baker set us up to be here on Monday nights. So oddly enough, he's not here. So
he's trying to get his team ready.
Yeah, they've got their football practice from their little Wildcat team. Not sure how they did this past Saturday, but I'm sure he'll tell us Friday night. But the Wildcats did good. The Wildcats went over to Bradford County, and Coach, we were talking before the game, and I mentioned the first game that you actually had as a head coach of the Wildcats was over at Bradford County on that turf, and it's funny to me because and I was telling some folks this on Saturday. The fence is brand new. The goalposts are brand new. The Jumbotron's brand new. The turf field is beautiful. But once you walk outside of that fence, everything else is the same old Bradford County. I mean, it was a swamp. It was a swamp walking through the stands, obviously.
If I remember the first time we went there, too, they only had like 2 sets of those bleachers. At least they brought in some more bleachers for the visitor side, because I do think we definitely had more people in attendance than they did.
Oh, yeah, they have. I looked over, and it's hard to know how many folks were over there that might have been Baker County folks that were just looking for a seat. And their middle section, their reserve section wasn't full at all, but their the outer sides, they had a pretty good crowd, but our folks were packed in. And then, obviously, standing room only on the fence. And we travel well wherever you go. But right before the game, a little shower. The game was kind of cool the other night. It was nice. The weather was actually, for the game itself, was actually pretty nice. What about the conditions? Was the field a little slippery to begin with, at least?
It was, and I think it's a turf. Anytime a team goes to turf, they haven't really practiced on it. It's slippery anyway, so they took us some time to get used to it. And I think it was a little slick, but our guys adapted to it, and especially on the defensive side, I thought they played really well.
I've got a lot of thoughts from the game this past Friday night, and just if you haven't listened to a Monday night coaches show, basically, Coach and I, we're going to sit here for an hour. We're going to talk about this past Friday night's football game. We're going to talk about this coming Friday night's football game. Since this is our first show of the year, we're probably going to talk a little bit about the schedule, some of the things upcoming for the year, anything that Coach wants to just tell the fans and the community, that type of stuff, and then each week we'll try to have a Wildcat player or two stop by the show and join us. And tonight we've got number 6, DeHaven Clark, is going to be here with us to talk some football. DeHaven almost had 2 interceptions the other night. He probably did have 2 interceptions.
If you ask him, he'll tell you that too.
They didn't.
That was the first thing he told me today. Coach, I caught that ball.
They didn't officially give it to him, even though it was odd because they had a conference to talk about it. But officiating is something that during the course of this year we'll have plenty of time to talk about. I only have a couple observations from the other night.
I will tell you one thing. That's the first time in 24 years that happened to me with officiating. So I don't know if you remember when it was second down, we stopped them and it was going to be like 3rd and 17 down on deep in their end zone. Well, they didn't give me the option to decline that.
Right.
I wanted to decline it.
Right.
He backed it up, and we only gained like a yard because it was only half the distance or something, or the defense gained
the penalty only gained a yard. Right.
So I asked the ref, I said, come here. I said, time out, went out and talked to him. I said, why didn't I get the option? I should have been able to decline that, right? And he went, you're right, I messed up. I was like, all right. Well, there you go. I've never had a ref tell me he messed up.
You mean they actually confessed?
Yep. He said, Coach, I messed up. What do you want me to do? And I said, you know what? I can accept that.
Yeah.
Instead of him puffing his chest out. And that. But, yeah, he was he admitted he was wrong.
It means something. You actually felt like you were vindicated.
I respected that a little bit.
I'm going to turn your mic up just a little bit, Coach. All right, so as far as the game itself, I've only got a couple observations I made about the referees, but I'll talk about those later on. I'm assuming that the sequence you're talking about is when the crowd thought it should have been 4th down and it was 3rd. Yeah, I remember that. We talked about that one on the radio. I'll just give you this one. The other one that always puzzles me, and this goes back to a game we played against Robert E. Lee back in, at this time I'd have to say it was either the very late 90s or the early 2000s when we played against Lee High School. I think they changed the name now to Riverside High School. But we're playing over there. It was when we were having a tough season anyway. So it was a tough season for the Wildcats to begin with. We're playing over at Lee. We've got the lead late in the game. Lee scores a touchdown late. They need an onside kick to try and get the ball back and come back and beat us, basically. And so we recover the onside kick when it's kicked to begin with, but they were offside. So in high school football, you don't have the option to decline the onside kick. You don't have the option if the kicking team's offside, you can't decline that. So they move back 5 yards, re-kick, and this time they get the onside kick. So had we gone with the original kick the first time, they would have never had a chance to win the game. But since you can't decline it and just take the ball, they get the re-kick. Same thing happened Friday night. They were offside.
Yep.
The result, we would have recovered the ball anyway, but then they got to re-kick the onside kick. It didn't hurt us the other night. We were ahead by 10, so it would have been very difficult in this case. But in that case, Lee recovered the second time, went on to win. That's one of those in high school football. I wonder why you can't decline it, because in college or pro, you can just decline and take it where it's at. Yeah. So that could really hurt a team, especially a team like us. In this case, we were ahead. Their team makes a mistake, goes offside. That could really hurt you if you can't decline that and they get another chance to kick it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think about it, but it happened to us. I can tell you. I was saying the other night, Kyle Davis, I know he remembers because he was the quarterback for the Cats at that time. So whatever year that was. And they came back. Lee got that second onside kick, went down and won the game. And that was a tough year.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, that was one of the observations I made, and that really didn't have anything to do with bad officiating. The thing that I had about bad officiating is it actually a penalty to pick up a player and body slam them?
Yeah, and I argued that. He said it was unneeded.
Okay.
It made it unsportsmanlike.
Okay.
And it happened on both sides because obviously their guy got one of our guys as well.
Well,
but
toward the end of the game.
That's a judgmental call on their part.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to check to verify if there was anything that said in the rule book you can't body slam a guy. Cause
I think it's a straight judgment call if it really needed to be done or not.
Yeah, because we're getting to an age in football, and we'll go way down a rabbit hole if we do this, but we're getting to an age in football where if it looks bad, you see a penalty more often as opposed to if it's actually an infraction. And that there's got to be a delineation there somewhere, right? I mean, it needs to still be an infraction before just because it looks bad.
I mean, you could go to the hit that number 2 put on Cam Smith down there.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's helmet was the first thing that hit him, and he hit him hard.
Yeah.
is that helmet to helmet? Is that, but at what point is it football, not football?
That's right.
I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, we had. I mean, to be honest, there were some really hard hits both ways the other night, and the Wildcats took the brunt of a couple of those. And I tell you, J-Mod, I know that on the one play, J-Mod took a really hard hit, and for him to come back and play later in the game, that was impressive. There was some hard hitting in the football game.
Yeah, there definitely was some hard hitting. Most of our guys were still very sore today.
I'm sure.
We tried to run it out of them a little bit, get them in the weight room, and just try to work their soreness out today because we used Monday as a lighter day to put in game plans and work that out. But that's one of the more physical football games I've seen in a while, being up close like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's recap the game a little bit, Coach. We start out in the football game. Very first play of the game, Toby Kinghorn, I believe, is the guy that got through, forced a fumble on the running back. And you don't force a fumble on the running back, they don't run the football again for like 2 more series. But either way, on the very first play of the game, they put the ball on the ground. We don't do much with it offensively. However, 39 yards, Blake kicks a field goal to start the scoring. So it's 3-0 first thing. How you feeling at that moment? Obviously, you wanted to move the football.
There's mixed feelings. I mean, because we blocked it wrong the first play, then we made an errant pass. And then the next play, and then you go for a field goal, and Blake probably was tired of hearing me because I was wondering why he missed field goals with no rush the week before. So he came in there and made sure he let me know that he made every kick that I let him kick. And he thinks I should have let him kick a couple more. Maybe I should have later in the game, but any time in the first series, though, you can put some kind of points on the board, you feel good about it.
Yeah. Well, one of the obviously when you win a football game, and as you and I were leaving the stadium the other night, I wanted to say something positive, which is 1-0, Coach. Way to go. It's a win. You leave the stadium, you're 1-0. It's a good win. We just talked about it being one of the more physical games that you've been watching from the sideline in a long time. So it's a really good win. But I know that you had opportunities that were out there that, are going to come back, and you're going to think about, this, that, and the other. And, should they have ever even been 10 points from us in that ball game?
It should have been.
Yeah.
It should have been somewhere in the 40s to probably 6, to be honest. And we offensively made a lot of mistakes. And, I actually had the linemen for lunch this weekend and tried to fix some problems because it's not technique as much as it's blown assignment, and that's the part that I struggle with is just blown assignment. So we tried to shore some of that up. We did a lot of stuff with the linemen at practice today, and they're going to be better. I mean, those guys as a group want to be good, and they have to understand what each other's doing because they work as a group of 5, and it's when one of them doesn't work with the 5 that's where we struggled some. So we've got it. We got to get better effort out of some of our receivers if they don't see the ball coming, and and even talking with Noah, he's got some stuff that he wants to work on. So I think offensively we're behind a little bit, but we're like you said, we're 2-0. I claim Union, like I said, because we won it, and we're 2-0.
Sure.
And not playing good and still be 2-0 at least gives me hope that we're going to be a really good team.
Yeah, that's kind of the way that you want to look at it. If you come away with a 28-18 win on the road in a game that, they kicked an onside kick at the end, but they were never really – once we got to the fourth quarter or third quarter, that lasted an hour and a half, by the way. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they never really had a chance to win the football game, even though at the end they're 10 points from you. They really never threatened. But, when you look back at it, what opportunities were there? We had the ball in the red zone, 3 or 4 times, came away with no point. 4 times in the red zone with no points. We got a ton of turnovers from them, which also helped.
Yep.
With where to go, but we also turned the ball back over. So
the defense played really well, forced them to punt. We had good punt returns to get us back where we needed to be, and we just, like you said, we gave the ball right back. And the thing that's frustrating about that kind of stuff is we work on ball security stuff every day, and obviously we need to change what we're doing because we put the ball on the ground too much.
Yeah, well, and sometimes you have to tip your cap because the other guy makes a play. And then there's times if it's something that happens, repeatedly.
Not 3 times.
I was just going to say, if there's a pattern, if there's a trend, then maybe there's a problem. But hey, so going back to that, I'll let you talk about Blake for a second because Blake was perfect the other night.
Oh, he definitely let me know that he when it was real live action, he was going to make the kick.
Yeah, well,
he did a good job, and I give him a hard time all the time just because he's obviously sitting at the house with us, but he did a good job, and and it starts up front too. We had good snaps. Peyton Duggar snapping the ball, Noah holding it, and obviously all the guys up front that blocked. He had, he really wasn't pressured, to have a bad kick. So, like I was trying to tell all those offense guys today, it takes offensive football and defense. It takes 11 guys to have a good play. So it took all of them to do their job so he could do his.
Well, I told somebody after the game the other night, I said, well, we had 28 points, but it wasn't your typical 28. I said, there's 2 safeties, a field goal, and 3 touchdowns with point after tries, right? So add all that up, you still get 28, but if you're thinking 28, you might think 4 touchdowns and extra points, but that's not the way it went. But Blake was 3 for 3 on extra points and 1 for 1. I think it was 39 yards, that first field goal. So that takes me to my next question, because later on in the game, I know you wanted to see some offensive continuity. I think there was a chance where we go for it on 4th down, and I think it was 4th and goal from way back.
It was like the 6.
Yeah,
and I look at it, and knowing how
no, that was the other time, because that one Davion ran and got stopped at the 1, right?
Yeah.
So that was one, but then we had another chance when we had a 43-yard opportunity, because it would have been 4 yards further than his other field goal, and I was thinking in my mind, what's the distance you're comfortable with?
I don't know what about that one. I don't know what, to me, it just didn't look or feel right. So obviously we took the delay of game and try to punt. Now, we didn't gain too much. I mean,
that's the one I was talking about. Yeah,
we didn't really. I mean, I think we only changed the field position by like 13 yards when it was all said and done. But obviously hindsight knows that if I let him take extra point and he misses, or a field goal and he misses it, they put the ball in the 20, which is about where it ended up anyway.
Exactly. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You could kick a 75-yarder if you want to. Try a 75-yarder, it goes to the 20, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm not – the reason I bring it up, because I'm not questioning coaching calls. That's not it. I just want to know for future, did you have a number that you look at in your head and think –
That would be 40 yards. We feel fairly comfortable that he, not that he's going to make all of them, but we felt comfortable.
He's gotten taller.
He actually shot up a little bit. And he's 40 yards is good, and then you look at it, that hash, he's questionable from a little bit.
That would have been the right hash. Yeah.
So I just thought it was better to take a chance to, try to draw him off sides. That didn't work. Just take the delay of game and try to punt. Hopefully you put the ball inside the 10. Well, didn't quite work out like it. In your head, it seems like a great idea.
Oh, well, I mean, in your head, it's the right call because you see people do it all the time. But that was just my question. Now, the other one that you brought up a moment ago, when Davion came in and ran from I think it was a 7, he got to the 1 on 4th and goal. Now, on that one, if I'm the head coach there, I kick the field goal all day long.
Well, so the right hash and the angle from the right hash at that had me concerned some. But I'll be honest, the O-line came over and asked for it.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to get that group a confidence as a group, I said, you guys want it?
Yeah.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
I tried to put Davion with fresh legs in there, and he came up about a foot short. I mean, if he'd got in there, it'd have been great. But
That's
he
right.
Get in there. Now I should have put points on the board. And Brock said, "Don't worry about it, Coach. I'll get you a safety."
And you got one.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I said the same thing on the radio Friday night. And if anybody ever says anything to you, trust me, it's not about questioning coaching decisions. It's just about, hey, if I put myself in coach's shoes here, what would I do?
Yeah.
And I would have kicked the field goal. Now, I'm not a coach. You're the coach. Brock's the coach. You guys make the decision. And somehow or another, y'all knew that a safety was coming on the other side, right? So
we,
maybe.
I look at that offensive line, and when they come over and want something, and if you think it's possible, I don't want to give them a chance just to put some confidence in them because they had struggled a little bit. They said, "Coach, we got this." Okay, well let's see what you got now.
And they almost did.
And looks like a dumb call. If he'd scored, it'd have been great. It'd have been everybody would have been happy. So you go through some of those moments.
Let me tell you what I've learned. It started out, I guess, probably in the probably not the 90s. It started out in the 2000s. when the internet really exploded, and people dialing up on CBS Sports, and you go to a box score after a game on CBSSports.com or an article, and there's 900 comments, right? And then now it's evolved into Twitter. Somebody posted something on Twitter, and there's how many comments? There's so many comments. So here's the thing. Everybody in the world knows more than you do. They all do. Everybody's a coach. Everybody's a whatever. I bring it up on our coaches show because I think there are people out there who genuinely want to understand what goes through a coach's mind in those certain situations, not to second guess it, because I'm telling you, there's too many. There's too many armchair quarterbacks out there that think they know more than the coach knows. Well, let me tell you something. Most guys, even the guys that are sitting there calling the games on College game day, let me tell you something. They get it wrong more times than they get it right, just because that's the nature of the game. But
I could have kicked the field goal, could have been blocked, and number 2 could have taken it. I mean, you never know. But
right.
I probably should have kicked the field goal there. I mean, I probably should have.
Yeah. Hindsight is what it is, and you can always look back and say whatever. I just want to know for my own thought process, and I think we probably genuinely have some people listening to the coaching show that want to know also, what is the thought process there?
6 yards was probably too far for me to give that, but like I said, they were adamant that they wanted to give it, and I was like, you know what, if they can punch this in here, give them a lot of confidence, and could have really put the game away.
I like the reason. I mean, that's a good reason. The guys look at you and say, Coach, we can do it, and everybody wants to believe that, and they almost did.
Yeah, almost got in there.
And then you turn around and get a safety. So.
Yeah, we knew that was coming, so Brock said don't worry about it.
Well, 28-18 was the big win. Some big plays that happened in that football game, obviously. You'll correct me on whatever the play call is here, but it's almost a little counter play to start the second possession that we had. And, Noah Ray fakes the handoff going back to the left side and then coming back to the right. It's almost like a little mini option out to the right, and J-Mod splits the defenders. And by the time that he crossed the 50-yard line, there was really nobody within room to even have a chance to run him down, and J-Mod just took that one to the house.
Yeah, he's fast.
Oh, and
you can see it on film. Like you said, by the time they decide to look to try to get him, he was gone.
Well, and they were mismatched on that side of the field, so the play call was perfect to begin with. But then to only have 4 guys on that side of the field with J-Mod running once he crossed the 50, I mean, it was a no-brainer. So that was a huge play in the game that gave the Wildcats, I know, a lot of confidence to start the football game. But here comes Bradford. They come back. They decided we fumbled on the first play of the game. We're going to throw the football around. They've got Amari Jones, this guy who's got, the Netflix special. I have to tell you a funny story about that in a moment. But he's got the special on TV. He's supposed to be the guy. And, so he starts completing a few passes. They bring the running back out of the backfield, put him down the field to catch some plays. And they hit one big one that kind of got away from folks, and then they hit a big one for the touchdown. So, then they come right back and score. So, obviously from that moment in time, our defense clamped down, and we forced turnovers. We did some other things. But, from that moment on, they got one good drive against us, and then late in the game, I think probably more so because our defense had been on the field all night long, we give up another drive. But overall, what a defensive performance. But then we come back after they go down and score, and we go back down, take a big lead. I'm trying to think.